Bilbo flushed, and there was an angry light in his eyes. His kindly face grew hard. "Why not?" he cried. "And what business is it of yours, anyway? To know what I do with my own things. It is my own. I found it. It came to me." "Yes, yes," said Gandalf, "but there is no need to get angry." "If I am, it is your fault," said Bilbo. "It is mine, I tell you, my own, my precious. Yes, my precious." The wizard's face remained grave and attentive, and only a flicker in his deep eyes showed that he was startled and indeed alarmed. "It has been called that before," he said, "but not by you. But I say it now, and why not? Even if Gollum said the same once, it's not his any more, it's mine. And I shall keep it, I say." Gandalf stood up. He spoke sternly. "You will be a fool if you do, Bilbo," he said. "You make that clearer with every word you say. It has got far too much a hold on you. Let it go, and then you can go yourself and be free." "I'll do as I choose and go as I please," said Bilbo obstinately. Now, my dear hobbit," said Gandalf, "all your long life we have been friends, and you owe me something. Come, do as you promised. Give it up." "Well, if you want my ring yourself, say so," cried Bilbo. But you won't get it. I won't give my precious away, I tell you." His hand strayed to the hilt of his small sword. Gandalf's eyes flashed. "It will be my turn to get angry soon," he said, "and if you say that again, I shall. Then you will see Gandalf the Grey uncloaked." He took a step towards the hobbit, and he seemed to grow tall and menacing, his shadow filling the room. Bilbo backed away to the wall, breathing hard, his hand clutching at his pocket. They stood for a while facing one another, and the air in the room tingled. Gandalf's eyes remained bent on the hobbit. Slowly his hands relaxed, and he began to tremble. "I don't know what's come over you, Gandalf," he said. "You have never been like this before. What is it all about? It is mine, isn't it? I found it, and Gollum would have killed me if I hadn't kept it. I'm not a thief, whatever he said." "I have never called you one," Gandalf answered, "and I am not one either. I am not trying to rob you, but to help you. I wish you would trust me as you used to." He turned away, and the shadow passed. He seemed to dwindle again to an old grey man, bent and troubled. Bilbo drew his hand over his eyes. "I am sorry," he said, "but I felt so queer, and yet it would be a relief in a way not to be bothered with it any more. It has been so growing on my mind lately. Sometimes I have felt it was like an eye looking at me, and I am always wanting to put it on and disappear, don't you know, or wondering if it is safe, and pulling it out to make sure. I tried locking it up, but I found I couldn't rest without it in my pocket. I don't know why, and I don't seem able to make up my mind." "Then trust mine," said Gandalf. "It's quite made up. Go away and leave it behind. Stop possessing it. Give it to Frodo, and I will look after him." Bilbo stood for a moment, tense and undecided. Presently he sighed. "All right," he said with an effort. "I will." Then he shrugged his shoulders and smiled rather ruefully. "After all, that's what this party business was all about, really. To give away lots of birthday presents and somehow make it easier to give it away at the same time. It hasn't made it any easier in the end, but it would be a pity to waste all my preparations. It would quite spoil the joke." "Indeed, it would take away the only point I ever saw in this affair," said Gandalf. "Very well," said Bilbo. "It goes to Frodo with all the rest." He drew a deep breath. "And now I really must be starting, or somebody else will catch me. I have said goodbye, and I couldn't bear to do it all over again." He picked up his bag and moved to the door. "You've still got the ring in your pocket," said the wizard. "Well, so I have," cried Bilbo, "and my will, and all the other documents too. You had better take it and deliver it for me. That will be safest." "No, don't give me the ring," said Gandalf. "Put it on the mantelpiece. It will be safe enough there till Frodo comes. I shall wait for him." Bilbo took out the envelope, but just as he was about to set it by the clock, his hand jerked back, and the packet fell on the floor. Before he could pick it up, the wizard stooped and seized it and set it in its place. A spasm of anger passed swiftly over the hobbit's face again. Suddenly it gave way to a look of relief and a laugh. "Well, that's that," he said. "Now I'm off." They went out into the hall. Bilbo chose his favourite stick from the stand. Then he whistled. 3 dwarfs came out of different rooms where they had been busy. "Is everything ready?" asked Bilbo. "Everything packed up and labelled?" "Everything," they answered. Well, let's start then." He stepped out the front door. It was a fine night, and the black sky was dotted with stars. He looked up, sniffing the air. What fun to be off again, off on the road with dwarves. This is what I have really been longing for years. "Goodbye," he said, looking at his old home and bowing to the door. "Goodbye, Gandalf." "Goodbye for the present, Bilbo. Take care of yourself. You are old enough and perhaps wise enough." "Take care? I do not care. Don't you worry about me. I am as happy now as I have ever been, and that is saying a great deal. But the time has come. I am being swept off my feet at last," he added, and then in a low voice, as if to himself, he sang softly in the dark. "The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow if I can, pursuing it with eager feet until it joins some larger way where many pass and errands meet, and whither then I cannot say." He paused, silent for a moment. Then without another word he turned away from the lights and voices in the field and tents, and followed by his 3 companions went round into his garden and trotted down the long sloping path. He jumped over a low place in the hedge at the bottom and took to the meadows, passing into the night like a rustle of wind in the grass. Gandalf remained for a while, staring after him into the darkness. "Goodbye, my dear Bilbo, until our next meeting," he said softly, and went back indoors. Frodo came in soon afterwards and found him sitting in the dark, deep in thought. "Has he gone?" he asked. "Yes," answered Gandalf, "he has gone at last. I hoped until this evening that it was only a joke," said Frodo, "but I knew in my heart that he really meant to go. He always used to joke about serious things. I wish I had come back sooner, just to see him off." "I think really he preferred slipping off quietly in the end," said Gandalf. "Don't be too troubled. He'll be all right now. He left a package for you. There it is." Frodo took the envelope from the mantelpiece and glanced at it, but did not open it. "You'll find his will and all the other documents in there, I think," said the wizard. "You are the master of Bag End now. And also, I fancy, you'll find a golden ring." "The ring!" exclaimed Frodo. "Has he left me that? I wonder why. Still, it may be useful." "It may be, and it may be not," said Gandalf. "I should not make use of it if I were you, but keep it secret and keep it safe. Now, I am going to bed." As master of Bag End, Frodo felt it his painful duty to say goodbye to all the guests. Rumours of strange events had by now spread all over the field, but Frodo would only say, "No doubt everything will be cleared up in the morning." About midnight, carriages came for the important folk. One by one they rolled away, filled with full but very unsatisfied hobbits. Gardeners came by arrangement and removed in wheelbarrows those who had inadvertently been left behind. Night slowly passed. The sun rose. The hobbits rose rather later. Morning went on. People came and began, by orders, to clear away the pavilions and the tables and the chairs and the spoons and knives and bottles and plates and the lanterns and the flowering shrubs in boxes and the crumbs and cracker papers, the forgotten bags and gloves and handkerchiefs, and the uneaten food, a very small item. Then a number of other people came, without orders, Bagginses and Boffins and Bogglers and Tooks, and other guests that lived or were staying nearby. By midday, when even the best fed were out and about again, there was a large crowd at Bag End, uninvited but not unexpected.